better.
That's
Right.
correct.
Okay. Okay, just a second. All right. What is up? My name is Ashraf. So, the topic for this episode is the power of automation to grow your podcast. Okay, and today's guest is Phil Better. Okay, and uh, Phil is the host and a producer of Six Podcasts, as well as executive producer for 18 other podcasts. He spends his time helping entrepreneurs leverage podcasting so they can increase their brand awareness to create income. Wow, that is so awesome. All right,
Mhm.
Phil. What is up, Phil? Welcome to the podcast for profit. It's so glad to have you here.
Ashraf, it's a pleasure to be here on the podcast for profit. I'm so happy to share some of my knowledge that I've accumulated over the 6 years of podcasting that I've been doing and share it with your audience.
Awesome. So before we get into the all things strategy and all things about growing a podcast, I would like to know, why do you start a podcast?
Why did I start a podcast or why people should start a podcast? Because they're two different things.
Okay, so just why you? Because you even
Okay.
have like six
Yeah.
podcasts.
So
Like, oh my gosh, that's too much.
it is, but at the same time, it isn't. I think I can do about maybe four more. I started podcasting 6 years ago with my first podcast called The Phil Better Show, which was just a love of movies. I'm a cinephile at heart. I love watching movies, so I wanted to review movies. So I got it together
Mhm.
with one of my friends. We started recording that podcast, and it's been going for, I think we're going up to 140 episodes so far. We did take off some time in 2022 because of COVID and all that. But I originally started podcasting because I just fell in love with being able to just share my ideas about movies, and I always talk about movies with my friends. So I was like, you know what, going to do this, and I went ham into the podcast, started recording episodes all the time with my buddy, and then I burnt out from life in 2019, end of 2019, beginning of 2022, 2020, sorry. And I took a hiatus
Mhm.
to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I knew it was with podcasting because I love connecting with people. Like podcasting is probably the fastest way to connect and network with individuals that you want to learn from. Because I was
Yeah.
listening to so many podcasts at the time. I was listening to a lot of business podcasts, a lot of entertainment podcasts, because I just love knowledge. And when I started listening to a buddy of mine's podcast that was about, it was actually Travis Chappell's Build Your Network podcast. I started listening to his, and he mentioned Tim Ferriss, so I started listening to Tim Ferriss, and I read Tim Ferriss's The 4 Hour Work Week, and I was like, this is what I want. Like, I don't want to be in corporate anymore. So I was like, okay, how do I become an entrepreneur? So I started watching YouTube videos and this and
Mm.
that. And it led me down to create, being like, okay, this is not working. Learning from YouTube isn't working. I need to actually ask questions to people. That's how I learn. So I started my second podcast
Yeah.
at the near the end of 2020, called Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. The goal of that podcast was just for me to interview people who have made money online, simply be so I can ask them
Hmm.
questions like, how did you do it? Like, what magical pill or what magical formula did you take?
Wow.
And that led
So
to, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
all right. So okay. So you're taking advantage of podcasting by by getting a kind of like free coaching,
Oh yeah,
right?
100%
Okay.
podcasting. When
Yeah.
you're able to interview people on your podcast like you're doing, you have
Okay.
the
Sure. So.
opportunity to charge. Like, most of these people charge like close to I apologize, charge like a thousand
Hmm.
dollars
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah. A lot of.
Like, they charge a
Hmm.
thousand dollars an hour for their time, and I was getting it for free.
Yeah. Yep.
So sitting
I
talking
feel
with
you.
them, pulling out their information. So I was going after different digital entrepreneurs, like email marketers, podcasters, investors, people who ran investing groups, people who were coaching for, LinkedIn, for mindfulness, all these amazing opportunities online. And these people were actually helping me without me even knowing about it, because they were dropping
Hmm.
the nuggets in my brain that I would later use to create the Feel Better method, or whatever I want to call it, the automation sequence, because I talked with people who were using computers to automate their tasks. From there, from the digital entrepreneur thing, I'm like, okay, I've been being asked, like, how do I launch a podcast? How do I grow a podcast? How I do these things with podcasts? So I was like, okay. So I signed my first client, Lloyd, got him on podcast, got him a top, he was number one in Australia for about 2 months. He's the number one financial podcast in Australia at the time, as of today, and he is a top, I believe, 5% podcaster worldwide. And that was and in a year we've gotten close to 600 followers on Spotify, specifically just Spotify, because that's where we're pushing. Um, and his business has grown exponentially. His funnel has grown, and I've learned from him because he's also like a mentor to me. But that led me to sign other clients and create my own digital entrepreneurship in podcasting, so helping people make money through podcasting. And from there I started doing my other shows. I launched the Stock Dirty to Me show, which is a podcast that goes live to 50,000, nearly 50,000 members in a private Facebook group, similar to your Facebook group, and we just talk about different things about the stock market, helping our beginner investors learn what's a smart play, instead of going, hey, I'm just going to dump all this money into this penny stock without any idea of whether or not it's going to actually make me money. Like, we changed their mindset from get rich quick to becoming wealthy, changing that mindset. Because if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to get rich, you're not going to last. But if you're thinking, I want to get wealthy and have generational wealth, this is what the podcast does. It teaches you, like, we're like, look, go for the blue chips, forget about all these other ones. Trying to pick a stock that's going to blow up, it takes years to get that knowledge, like to see everything, read everything, and understand it. It takes years. Here are some like basic things, like investing in Google, investing in Facebook, investing in, Apple, Microsoft, these established companies that have been around for a long time. And we also break down some of the news, because it is confusing if you read the news and you know nothing about the stock market, but you're trying to get more knowledge, trying to read these articles or understand, like, what does the Fed rate hike mean to me as an investor? Like, what does that mean? So we break it down and we make it easier for you guys to understand. And we're destroying, like, we've gone from like 1 or 2 viewers when we first started to now we're averaging 20 to 30 viewers live, and our replays are getting close to like 6,000 replays sometimes. So like, we're growing, and we're still not done our first year of doing these lives, and we've changed the format of the lives. The first couple episodes we were just voting on breaking down stocks for people that in the group they wanted to know.
Okay, so that's this. Just to be clear, this is your second podcast, right?
Third,
you talk about investing.
Yes, so it would be my third podcast. So I still do the Feel Better show.
Okay.
I have Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur podcast. The Stock Dirty was my third podcast. I launched the fourth podcast, Invest in Yourself, the podcast series, where I interview podcasters like yourself, and I also teach how, like, why you should have a website, how to automate your podcast, how to grow your email list, how to monetize your podcast. Like, I go live in my personal Facebook group to help people grow their podcast, monetize their podcast, and all that, and answer their questions with lives every day. Every weekday is a live with a different menu on a choice, so that you guys can learn, my audience can learn. From there, I have two podcasts that are currently in production. It's Roll with What, which is a D&D podcast, because I've been asked, how do I make money? Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. Like, how I have a D&D podcast. How do I make money with that? So I was like, you know what? For me to learn and understand, I need to get my hands dirty. So I found some people. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I've always been interested. So I found a couple people. We got together, and we're going to be we're recording episodes. I think we have nearly a dozen episodes recorded, and they're in the process of being edited. And because it's we're like 6 people, finding the time to record is a little difficult. So we want to get a full season done before we release that. And then I have a relationship podcast in the works right now with a fellow podcaster in England. And we're millennial daters, if we will. And we're going to just talk about like dating in the millennial world and how it's different. Like, because we're both entrepreneurs, we're both running our own business. So trying to bring entrepreneurship and dating and how
Together.
how it can work together, because a lot of
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, it's a lonely life being an entrepreneur if you don't have a partner that's
Mm,
100% with you. So were like, okay, how can we help other entrepreneurs date by at the same time helping ourselves date? So those are the podcasts that I host exclusively. Either I'm a co-host or I'm a full-on host. But for those podcasts, I'm full production. I do everything for the things for the podcast. Everybody else is just they do small bits for it. And because I have so many podcasts that I produce and that I physically have to be a part of, I had to learn how to automate everything so that it doesn't take too much of my time, because I don't have enough time because I'm editing other people's podcasts. I'm in meetings with my clients, or I'm being a guest on podcasts. So I have to learn how to automate. So I started learning how to automate, how to take the first thing was just creating show notes automatically so that I didn't have to create show notes all the time. Because if, as you know, like writing out the show notes, it's a long time. It takes time because
yeah.
it's like, oh, I have to find the social media links. I have to do this. Like you can do half of it, your part, like, oh, follow us here, and this is a bit about the show, that bit, but the guest portion and what you're talking about is completely different. So I created an automation. It's a simple automation. It's nothing high tech. It literally goes Google Forms up here to a Google document. That's it. And what's really cool is because I study podcasting, I'm on a lot of podcasters email list. Captivate is an amazing platform to host your podcast. They're doing amazing stuff.
Wait.
Um,
Phil, one sec. Do
yeah,
you have like an agency to do this? Like,
I,
you say about
I
automation.
I do it myself. I run the whole business
Oh wow.
myself.
Oh, that's
So
even more impressive.
yeah, that's the thing. Like I run my business myself because I wanted to keep it as lean as possible, keep my profits as high as possible, because I didn't want to spend money I didn't have to. So I
Uh-huh.
run the whole thing by myself. So I'm teaching myself. I'm paying people to teach me how to do it if I need to, or I'm using YouTube and figuring it out. And once I get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I don't need to handle all this. I want to automate as much as possible so that when it comes to all I have to do is interview people and that's it. So like you're
Mm,
using StreamYard.
yeah.
And what I do with StreamYard is I upload my intro and outro videos to the video section, and depending on what level of streamer you have, before I go live, I have an overlay that says the show will start soon. So I run that first, and then I hit the video. The video does the intro, which is the same intro I use on on the audio version and the video version. So the video goes live. I jump on, boom, I do my show. I have an end video. So when I download the recording, it's all done for me. There's just a bit of like, cleaning up the audio, making sure it sounds nice, which took my editing from an hour worth of my time, sometimes two, depending on how stringent I wanted to be on the editing, down to like a 5-10 minute process now, because I have the intro already set up. So I just have to move over so that I have some talking over with the music, because that's always nice to hear. So it just doesn't music and then abruptly end into talking. You want to have that overlay with the music and the sound. And I just clean it up, make sure it's normalized, compressed, there's no huge bumps. If there's any long pauses, those are removed. I export it, upload it, and because the show notes were already automated by my guest when they filled out the intake form, it's created. I don't have to worry about that. Then I have
Hmm.
my social media automation, which whenever the episode gets released, an automation sequence happens where it starts pushing out to different platforms. So Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter gets uh, um, its own post whenever it loads up. So I don't have to upload buffer. I don't have to go to Hootsuite. I don't have to do any of that. I have an automation that just does it for me. So it just boom, the episode
Okay.
with the RSS feed launches, boom, episodes produced, boom. I don't have to worry about it. So the production, the promotion part is taken care of.
Wait.
Obviously, I can
So
do.
Phil.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of tool are you using to automate the social media parts?
So there's two tools that I use. I use Zapier. That is a great tool to use. It costs money to get to the next level of tier, but they have a lot of free integrations. And then the Integromat is the one that I primarily use. It helps me run, and those two things and I use Airtable and Google obviously to run everything else. Airtable is my database. So I create the database there, and so it has all the information so that Integromat can grab from or update things that are necessary. And that's all I do. I use Integromat and Zapier to run the rest of my business, and B Suite, Bcast, sorry, Bcast is my hosting platform that I use, and
Okay.
and I just run my business that way.
So okay, there, how did they make a post on social media? Do you just upload them and then boom, you got a
So
post?
so with Zapier, so in Integromat, I have my database for my podcast. So it has the guest name, the episode, the link to the episode, the transcript if it's up to date, and it has all the information about the episode because I upload it there through the Google Docs. Once the episode goes live, what Integromat does, it grabs the RSS feed and it knows, oh, this is Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Then it grabs the information from the data table, goes from there, it goes to Twitter. And then Twitter, I already have a template created for the tweet, and I just have it copy certain data points from the Airtable or from the RSS feed, and then I use HTML to CSS option to turn the HTML into an image. So then there's an actual image that's created from the data that's collected from the RSS feed and the Airtable database. And then that image, once it's created, gets posted to Instagram with a caption and posted to Facebook with a caption.
Wow. Well, what's the name of the website again? Zapier?
So it's Zapier. It's Zapier is one of them. And then Integromat, which is Integromat.
Those are the two. I've heard that software a lot. I think it's from Johnny Dumas. I think it's from a lot of podcasts there who mentioned that software, but I didn't know how to use that. So thanks to you for introducing me to that thing.
You're very welcome.
Okay. All right. So you broke down all the tools and the strategy to use. So first thing, you record a podcast with the intro, with everything, right? And then you just send it. You edit it first, and then you just send it to that platform, the Zapier platform, right?
So how it works is once I've recorded. So most of my episodes are recorded weeks in advance. So for my Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, it's recorded. Usually there's a 2-month delay. So I record it, and then 2 months later it comes out it's scheduled to release, because I like having a lot of episodes in the can just in case I get sick or anything like something happens that I can't record. Consistency is the key to growth. And if you're not consistent with episodes coming out on the day that you say it will, you're going to lose your audience, because that's the loss of trust, and you don't want to break the trust with your audience. So let's say I was editing. This is my podcast. I just finished with you, Ashraf. I take it, I download the audio, I edit it, I upload it to Bcast. Now it's there. In Integromat, I have the RSS feed of my podcast as the starting point for it. And whenever it launches, so whenever a new episode comes out, so it's scheduled every 15 minutes to check, is there a new episode? Is there a new episode? Is there a new episode? There's a new episode. Once it sees that, oh, there's a new episode, it starts following the sequence. It goes, okay, pull this information. Now, once I've done that, I go get the Airtable. Once I get the information from the Airtable, I go to the CSS image creator, create that image. Then I go to Twitter, then I go to Facebook, and then I go to Instagram. All in the same sequence. It's all done. Boom. Thank you very much. So it's whenever the episode is released. So I can record an episode last year. It's being released today. The sequence is going to go off and create that image, create that thing for the people to watch or listen to.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't believe there is such a thing of that thing to do that. It is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get it?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, I was saying, when did you get inspired to do this? Because you have 6 podcasts. So when that you feel like, okay, I need some automation for this because I'm going to produce for other people's podcasts. So when did you realize that you need automation?
I realized I needed automation when I started my the digital entrepreneur podcast because I was getting such a large influx of people. I've already hit over 100 interviews on that podcast, and it's only been since 20 December of 2020 that it launched. And
Mm.
it's when I was getting such an influx, I was like, I was falling behind. I was like, oh my God, I'm falling behind because I was recording. This is my life at the time was from 9 to 5, I was working my day job. So I didn't have time to work on my podcast. Then afterwards, I was recording for nearly like 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours. So that's 5 to 6 interviews I was doing. Like at 5:30, boom, I was sitting in the chair interviewing, or actually standing interviewing people, and then that would go until like 10 o'clock sometimes, and then I'm exhausted, right? When you do like multiple interviews in the same day, you don't have the energy to do anything else. And I was like, okay, I have to do the show notes, I have to do the editing, I have to do this, I have to do that. So I started looking, I'm like, how can I automate some of my sequence? So it was like the first thing I learned was, I'm like, oh, I can automate show notes. So I started doing that. I started creating the automation for that, working on that. And that was on like the Saturdays, Sundays. I would spend like watching YouTube videos on how to automate stuff. And so I learned how to automate that. So it was like, okay, that horse is like, that monkey's off my back. I don't have to worry about that. That's running, it's creating. I have no worries about that. Then it was like, okay, what's the next thing I can automate? I'm like, okay, the product,
Social media.
the social media promotion was like the hardest part because it's like I have to go to different Facebook pages and this and that. And then it was like, okay, I started watching more automation videos, found this one creator who was doing a lot with automation. I was like, okay, I like this. Let's see what else. Started watching him. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a powerful tool. Like, oh my God, like this is ridiculously powerful if used properly. And so I started just messing around with it and luckily found another video of someone who was doing something similar. For his was blog post, creating blog posts from his Airtable domain. And I was like, I'm not creating blog posts. That's a lot more work. I'm not really well with the written word. I'm more vocal. And so
Yeah,
it
same
was
for
like,
me.
okay, yeah, like this is it. You're like, you're not getting written words from me. Oh, you got a video from me talking about it. And then I saw what he did. I was like, okay, how can I take what he's doing and put it into mine? So I started like experimenting, and I was like, oh my God, it works. And I was just trial and error and just constant learning, trying to figuring out, this is what I want to do. How do I search for doing that in using these tables? And is there anybody else who's done it? So it was pretty early on, like I would say in the like probably within the first like 3 months of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur podcast, that I was like, yeah, I need to automate as much as possible because I wasn't making any money to at this point, so it was paying people wasn't an option. And I wanted to save as much money because I have goals I want to reach. So it was like, where can I leverage time and save money? And that was just learning more about automation. And as I've learned more about automation, my automations have gotten more complex. And now my clients have my automation, so their podcast production is like handled even easier for them. And to be fair, like they hire me, and like I do most of the automation. Like most of my automation handles it. So that's why I'm able to handle my 6 podcasts that I produce plus the 18 podcasts that I executive produce, which range from full on production that I do for some of my clients. Like they send me the audio, I edit it, I upload it, I do the promotion, I handle everything from A to Z for them. Or it's they hire me for a couple of days for answering questions for them. I've been blessed to help a school out in England called the TWS school. I can't
Mm.
remember. They have a proper name, and I always mess it up, so I just call it the TWS school. They have a podcast called the TWS Sports Podcast that's hosted by autistic students. So this school is for children that aren't neurodivergent children. So children and students who have learning disabilities, that may be autistic, that be on the spectrum. They go here, they go there, and the teacher contacted me because he had seen some of my work, and they wanted to do a podcast. So I was like, yeah, I'll help you out 100%. So anytime he has
Wow.
a question, he asks me, and like listening to these kids do their podcast, like the students handle everything. They handle the only thing they don't handle is the guests, because they get guests, and because they're doing a sports podcast, they're getting um legends of the sports world in England. So you have like cricketers, you have soccer, football players, you have rugby players, you have like whole bunch of people and legends like Olympians, winners of the Euro Cup on the podcast. And when I was listening to it, you can hear the students go from being shy, reserved, and the teacher doing most of the work. And then later, it's the teacher just does the intro, going, "Hey, this is the podcast. This is who we have on today. Let's go into it." And it's the students that run the whole thing. And it's amazing
Mm.
hearing the confidence that these students are having now, and the amazing opportunities that just recently they had the opportunity to go to a film premiere. One of their guests was a former footballer turned movie producer, actor, and he had a movie was coming out, and he was doing his promotional rounds. He was on the show, and he invited the students to it. So the students actually got a chance to go to a movie premiere, like a real life movie premiere. And this is something that I was like super happy to see and hear. And they've been in the news as well. The BBC has done articles on them. So this is also
Wow.
like something that I'm happy. Like I don't get paid for helping them out, because it's what I always believe is like
Cool.
every every client I have, I try and find a podcast that's in need. So like this is not a special needs podcast, but it's not a podcast that can afford to pay me to do their work. So it's like I'm willing,
Mm.
someone's already paying me, I'm going to help you out for free. Keeps that karmatic balance in check, so I don't get too egotistical. I'm still helping the little guys
Yeah.
while helping the big guys. So I'm creating that connection, and it's paid off for them because I was able to connect to other um, sports legends. And right here, if you're watching here, you can see on the side of me, I have this rugby jersey from one of my clients who owns a rugby team, and I've gotten some of his players on, and there are players that played for like Team Portugal in the Olympics, Team Spain, have won like rugby World Cups in this, and so like getting them, having that feeding connection to their podcast, I'd alleviate some pressure for them, because they now have rugby players that they can call on whenever they need a guest at last minute, or even the owner of the team has been a guest on the podcast.
Okay. So that you help them. Wow. Okay. That's a lot. So you, actually, that's a lot. I'm trying to brainstorm everything.
Yeah, it's fine. Take your
All
time.
right.
Take your time, brother.
Okay. Okay. So wow, you help at school, and of course, you help school, and you didn't get paid because it's cool, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah. So how many hours did you put in each of the episode? Because you have a lot of episodes, and you also are helping other people's podcasts. So how how long did you put in each episode to get it done, basically get it done out into the world?
So when I first started the Phil Better show, it used to take me about 3 hours. My process was around 3 hours. It was an hour for recording, an hour to edit, then an hour to do everything on the back end, create the promotional material, create the show notes, all that. It was about 3 hours worth of time. I've
Hmm.
gone it down, pardon me, to probably about a full hour. So
4 hour?
1 hour.
1 hour, okay.
Because the automation takes care of like 90% of my stuff. The episode is usually about 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. I record the episode. And then afterwards, there's about 15 minutes of actual work that I have to do. So it's the editing takes like 5-10 minutes, usually about 5 minutes. Then it's the uploading that takes zero time. Then it's filling out the forms, like just copy pasting, and then scheduling it, updating my tracker, which I'm still trying to automate as much as possible on that tracker. But it takes me an hour now to just handle a full episode of the Phil Better Show, Invest in Yourself, or any one of the other podcasts that I host. It takes me about an hour once from recording to production. The production is produced.
So it takes you 1 hour for all of the episodes in each podcast.
Yeah, It takes me an hour
Wow,
because I've
that is
set
so
up the
fast.
automation. Yeah, the automation does like I said, the automation does 80 to 90% of all my work. So um it the guest answers all these questions beforehand, so it fills out my show notes. So I have my show notes already. I have all the information. Obviously, like during the day, if they have a podcast, I'll listen to some of their podcast episodes so I can get a feel for them. If they've been guests on other podcasts, I listen to other episodes. So I'm like, okay, this is what they like to talk about. These are some of the questions they've already had. So I won't ask these
Mm,
questions. But full production value, like they from the minute they book themselves, it's an automated sequence up until the interview. So they'll get the first email they'll get will be, hey, here's the link to fill out the guest intake form. It's just a simple admin form to help me know a bit about you. So they fill that out. Once they fill out that, they get another email saying, here's the email to book the pre-interview, which is something I like to do. I like to have a pre-interview just to make sure that it's worth everyone's time. Generally, it
mm,
is because I go after certain people. Like if I'm going after someone, they don't get a pre-interview. It's because I know I want them on the show. But if you're applying to be a guest on the show, you have a pre-interview. I need to know that you're going to bring value to my podcast because that's what I want. I want to bring value to my audience so that they are getting the best advice on how to start their journey as an entrepreneur or start their journey as a podcaster. So they get that email afterwards. After they do that, I check yes or no in my database. Then the sequence runs again and they say, oh, if it's a yes, they get the third email, which is here, book the interview. So we book the interview. And then following that, about 30 days later, they get another interview, another link that says, hey, it would be really great if you could promote my subscribe to the podcast. Here's some links. Boom. That takes care of the interaction with the guests. And obviously, if they send me an email, I respond to that. But that automation is done. It took me 20 minutes to set up, and now it's done. I never have to worry about it. It's set up for me for life. Then the next automation is once they're on the podcast, I have my intro already done. I have the outro already done. Boom. Record the episode. That's done. Download. I clean up the audio, upload it. I already have the show notes that are created, so I copy paste that there. The takeaways, because I write down important points in the episode, I create takeaways from the episode so that I just put the
wait,
time
Phil.
stop. Yeah,
Okay. So about the email, right?
yeah.
Um, so you said that you automate the email, right? How did you do that?
Oh,
Like,
with
do you have
Integromat.
a tool for that? I'm
So
sorry.
there's multiple tools. So like you can use Mailchimp, you can use SendFox, you can use Octopus. I think is one as well. I use Integromat and Gmail. So with Integromat, you can connect to Gmail if you've got the Google One type thing. I think they're like their Google Business. So you can connect it and you can send emails through Integromat. So all it
Mm,
is you write the template and then you can literally with Integromat you can create what's called like dynamics. You're just like, okay, put this person's name here, put this here, this here, this here, like just these are automatic forms that are filled out. So every time they do the like let's say what's your name in the email, all I have to do is go put you're going to grab the information from this form and put it here. Then you're going to grab this information, you're going to put it here. And so it's just filling in the blank. So when it runs, it goes, oh, I need to find this person's name. I'm going to grab it from here and put it here.
So what's the name again? Integromat.
In Integromat. So it's Integromat is the
Okay.
platform I use, and it is coding without coding. So there's no codes in it. It's like drag and drop, and it's phenomenal. It's a great tool to use, and if you want to take your podcasting to the next level, or even take your business, I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs that use Zapier and Integromat to grow their business and have keep it lean for the beginning until they get enough money to start hiring proper staff, which I'm on the cusp of hiring staff to handle some of this stuff. For not guest outreach, but for podcast outreach to be guests on podcast. I would love to pay someone because I haven't found a automation sequence yet for that, or I haven't created one at least.
Yeah. I mean, your framework of automation is, I think, the best for someone who works alone. Yeah, I think yours is the best so far. Period.
Thank you.
Yeah. So okay. Now okay, you talk about editing a podcast, and you spend 1 hour on it to edit all the podcast, which is awesome. How about the coming up um of the episode title of, or something like episode.
So the
I
SEO
mean,
part of
how
it
do you
with the
come up with the
titles.
episodes?
Yeah, so
Uh,
luckily for me, a lot of my guests, because they have different worlds, they come from different parts of the digital entrepreneur ecosystem. Um, their job title is pretty much what they do. So like, I interviewed a gentleman by the name of Dom Einhorn, who is the owner of startups of Sarlar Rugby, and he was an OG. Like, he's been in the digital entrepreneur game for over 25 years now. He pivoted from doing digital marketing into doing a startup for companies, because he's started and exited successfully 3 companies, and unfortunately only one failed. But he's been able to do that, so he created a new business, a startup accelerator ecosystem. So startups, like, they're just starting up. Like, one of the companies is this really cool drink robot that drives around. Okay, drives around convention centers,
okay.
and it makes a drink in 15 seconds. But to get your drink, alcoholic or
Mm.
non-alcoholic, you have to answer some questions. Like, it's a little trivia game. You scan it on your phone, and then you just answer the questions on your phone, and everything's good. But that's also for business. That's getting leads for your business, right? Like, if you're, let's say it's your business for lights. Let's say it's a light business. I don't know. I just picked it out of my head. Lights,
You mean like light
like
bulb?
light bulbs or
Okay.
lamps and stuff, like the
Lamps.
whole lighting world in essence. And then you're at a light
Yeah.
convention and you're trying to get into a hotel. Now you have a hotel employee, or the purchaser for your hotels for lamps and all this. Click on the game, give their email. Now you have that data to then send out an email going, hey, we know you interacted with our mobile droid. uh we would love to be able to talk to you more about maybe some great options that we have to help your business grow with the new lamps or something like that. But also, it gives the person, it's going to remember the great interaction they had because they answered questions. It's a fun game like atmosphere, and then you get a prize at the end. So like, this is the type of companies that he has in his startup. And you have that ability. Like, that is something that's an amazing to talking point to have, right? It's coming out later on, I actually, the interview. But with that, that those interviews that you have, those just take everything to the next level because it's teaching people. So editing that episode was super easy to be done. And
Yeah.
it's the power of podcasting, the connections you have, and making the world a better place, because that's what you're doing with your podcast, because you're sharing information. The minute you stop learning is the minute you kind of like stagnate in life. Like, you're not going to have fun. But the minute you listening to podcasts on your commute to work, when you're cleaning the apartment or your house, your apartment, or whatever you're doing, you're going for a run, you can listen to a podcast and you can get a full course on learning stuff. Like, just taking the snapshot of how I did the automation in this podcast, guest intake form creates the show notes. The show notes create the social media posts. And just using those 2 links, like Zapier and Integromat, can automate so much. There's one guy, Scaling with Systems, Ravi. I'm trying to get him on my podcast. He built multi-million-dollar companies just by using automations. And his team is like 4 or 5 people, I think, at the time. So I'm taking
Yeah.
his knowledge,
Yeah.
because he
I've seen
has,
that.
yeah. So I'm taking his knowledge and going, okay, he's doing automations to grow his business. How can I take those automations and grow a podcast with it? And then it's going to podcasters and going, look, this is the automation I have. This is the cost to it, but here's the benefit of it. It will give you this, 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 and this. It gives you time. Because we, as podcasters, we know how much time it takes to promote. We know how much time it takes to get guests. We know how much time it takes to get all the show notes and all the stuff behind it. And if someone can go, like, I can free up like hours of your day with this automation or this process, it's amazing how many people are like, really? Like, I've been a guest on a few podcasts talking about my automation and showing the automation afterwards, because I don't like to show it on air, because then people can figure it out and not pay me. But
Mm.
with Integromat and Google, you can figure it out how to do the stuff that I've done. But it just like, will it work the first time? And I've shown it to a few podcasters, and like, I want that. How much does it cost? Like this frees up your life, and it's so great, and how much freedom you can get from just automating your tasks, so that you don't have to spend more time working on it, and you can spend it on what you like. Like if you have a business, you need to get more clients. How do you get more clients? Well, you have to prospect, right? But if you can automate the promotion
Yeah.
part of it, prospecting now can come your full time. You don't have to worry about, oh, I have to do this. The podcast promotion is done, or my social media posts are done, because you can use the same sequence that I did for podcasting, that you can create a full automation for your social media posts with the same thing, because that's what another business does. Because all I did was
Mhm.
take what they did and just Frankenstein it, if you will, into for podcasters. And I'm always refining it, always making it better, so that every generation, every level I go, it gets better and better, until I can eventually build a business, a full platform for podcasts. So I have a goal to build a all-in-one platform for podcasters, from streaming to multiple locations like StreamYard. But also, once it's done, it's easy to upload to your the audio version to your hosting platform, so that it goes out to the world, and you don't have to worry about downloading it, uploading it, and promoting it. It's all in this one done platform.
Mhm. All right. So podcasting usually consists of three parts. For me, I
Mhm.
think is first coming up with the episodes,
Yep.
and then second part is editing,
Yep.
and the third part is promoting it. So, so you spend 1 hour on editing, right? So how about the promoting?
Oh, promoting,
Like,
I don't
do
spend
you
any
do? You,
time on it, because I have it
oh,
automatically
okay.
done. My automation takes care of my
Ah,
promotion. So the editing, if we're going to do editing is like 5 to 10 minutes of my time. It used to be, but the whole sequence from guest to production is an hour. It's 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes of the recording of the episode. Then afterwards, it's 5 to 10 minutes of editing the podcast. So now we're at 50 minutes. And then there's about 10 minutes before,
oh,
5 minutes or 10 minutes beforehand. Like, it generally is about an hour worth of time for a full episode, for me to upload, like from recording the episode. Because the guest outreach, I go into a Facebook group. If it's for podcasters, I go into a Facebook group, go, hey, I'm looking for podcasters, sign up here to be on my show. It's a top what, this is what we're going to talk about. People post, they put in the sequence. Like, once they insert their name into my sequence, like they sign up for it or whatever, it's fully automated. I never have to do anything there. Boom, we get them booked.
dang.
They're on my podcast, interview them, boom, it's done. I go to the editing, boom, boom, done. I upload it to Bcast, which is another, like, that whole sequence is like I said, 5 to 10 minutes. Uploaded. I go into my Google Drive, copy, it's done, and then the name, or how I name it, going back to the how I name episodes, is I take their name, I take what they do. So if it's an email marketer, I go, we talk email marketing with Ashley DeLuca. Boom, that's it. So it's email marketing. Boom, it's a keyword. How to grow your email list with, boom, if it's someone else. Like, if there's something we touch on the episode, I write it down, so that I know, okay, that's what I'm going to name the episode, or that's what we're going to get the idea around the episode. So I already know it, because one of the things I learned from an actual journalist is having a notebook and writing down timestamps of important moments in the podcast. Because when journalists go, they don't write down what you're saying. They write down a quick synopsis of what you said and the timestamp on their recorder, so that they go back.
Mhm.
They go, okay, they were talking about. So let's say I was interviewing you, Ashraf, and I wanted to know about your business. He mentioned, why did he start? Like, one of the questions is, why did you become a digital entrepreneur? What was it? What drove you to become a digital entrepreneur? And so I'm like, okay, the why is at 4 minutes. I asked that question at 4 minutes. So I go, when I listen to the audio, I know at 4 minutes I can clip that, and I can use that as promotional material afterwards. Or I can make it as, hey, if you want to know his why or her why or their why, it's at this point. What book do they suggest? It's at this point. Their favorite moment is at this point. Their best tip is at this point. So audience members can then go look and just hear that, pick that out. So there's added bonus for my audience members and my listeners to know if they're looking for something very specific.
Mhm.
And so,
So
yeah, go ahead.
okay. So one thing I still don't get is you mentioned about getting guests and you send a link to them and they just the automation just do the thing. So what what kind of form did you send to
It's a
them?
Google form. It's a simple Google form.
It's a,
Yeah, it's a Google form that they sign,
oh,
they fill
okay.
out.
It's a Google form.
Yeah, just a simple
All
Google
right.
form, because hey, Google's free. I try and find, so I know how expensive podcasting can be, and I know how inexpensive it can be. If you're looking at inexpensive, like you're using a free version of StreamYard to record this episode and go live into your podcast group, into your Facebook group, which is amazing because it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Integromat, majority of it is free. Airtable is free. Now the equipment side, like you have a great mic, you have the stand. I have a Rodecaster Pro. My equipment and my computer altogether was about $5,000. That's my equipment for my podcasting. So that's $5,000. I may not have, you may not have $5,000. You may not. Obviously, there's different ways you can monetize, but I looked at what's the cheapest, fastest way I can do this for other podcasters that don't want to spend the money, that may be only using this for as a hobby, but they still want to grow and see eventually grow for monetization, and that by sponsorship or stuff like that. Because I also help people with sponsorship, because anything I teach, I've done for myself and taught someone else to do. So I've got my own sponsors. I've monetized it through products. Like for a while, I was selling mugs with Invest in Yourself. As you can see, I got two other mugs back there. So I know how to sell with merch, and I help someone else sell with merch. I got people promote getting guests on. Like if I've done it, I will teach you how to do it. And if I don't know how to do it and you need me to do it, I will go learn so that then I can then do it for you. So I've done sponsorship, going to businesses and helping and getting them to pay me money to be a guest, sponsor on my show. But I've also taught other people, and some people have gotten year-long contracts for sponsorship, month-long, episode by episode. Like a lot of people have done different things. I've done affiliate marketing as well, so that I can teach other people how to do affiliate marketing. I've grown my email list from 0 to 200 to more. So I go and I do exactly what I teach, so that other people can be like, oh, I just have to listen to this episode and I'll learn. Or I can hire Phil to do it for me so that I don't have to do it and I can save the time. That's what I offer. I offer both options, done for you or done with you by me doing it and showing you.
All right, cool. So now let's talk about your your results, because people love automation and people want to know what kind of result they can get from this automation stuff, right? Because you are able to condense everything into just 1 hour. So imagine if if they just edit just one podcast, right? It may take lesser than 30 minutes. I don't know, right? So what result did you get from automation aside from getting more free time? Okay, so yeah.
So the for me, it was just, I just wanted to free up my time. So that's why I started automation, was just to free up my time so that I would have more time to do more episodes, or more free time just to have, like, be able to breathe. Because going nearly like over 18 hours a day working, it can kill you. Like, it's not sustainable. You'll burn out. So my goal was like, how can I go from like these 18-hour days to just regular 10-hour days or 12-hour days, which isn't that bad. So my first goal was like, just how can I shrink the amount of time that I work on the podcast? Not that I don't want to work on my podcast, but there's more, like, I want to run a business, so I can't be spending 12 hours on one project. So what it's done is, with the fact that I've been able to use myself as a case study on how much free time I've gotten from automation, I've been able to use that to be hired by other podcasters to handle that for them and create the automation sequence for them, so that they can then free up the time to concentrate on more things that they need. So either it's them paying me to create their automation for their show notes so that their show notes are taken care of and they don't have to worry about that. The promotion aspect, I can do that for them. I have other automations that I've created for myself that I sell to fellow podcasters and business owners if they want. If you become a client of mine and we work together and I'm an executive producer, you get access to that. That's part of the fee. You get access to all of that. And if you need me to create others, I will create others and customize it for you. That's part of hiring me to do your production of your podcast and that. Or you can just hire me to create the automation that you need and you get that. Like, that is how I've done. Like, the automation has created a new business for me so that I now
Yeah.
generate income from automations as well. So instead of a podcaster paying me to handle the whole production of their podcast, they're like, you know what? I just need you to I just need to automate this sequence. Can you do it for me? Yeah, sure. Boom. I automate it for them, give it to them. They download it, put it into place, and it works off them, and they never have to deal with me again unless it's like, Phil, it's broken, fix it for me. And it's like, okay, let's take a look. Okay, this is what you need to do, and that's what I do. Like, that is these. It is created, like, the automation has created a new business for me. Not only do I can provide you with podcast production, but I can also give you podcast automation that you can free up your time.
All right. Cool. And regarding posts, right? Do you have uh, do you have something, maybe a tool that can create a post for that?
To create a social media post, it's literally two programs working together. It's Airtable having all the data, and then Integromat running the sequence and pulling the data from that. That creates the social media post, because Integromat has all the necessary nodes, if you will, or the code to create that automation. So, like I said, the RSS feed goes out, it pulls the information from Airtable, then it goes into a HTML CSS image creator, which is a node that another quote unquote program that you have to sign up for, but it's free. From there, it creates the image, and then that image goes to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Awesome. All right. So awesome. And Phil, I think we are close to the end here. So where can people find more about you and learn more from
If
you?
you're interested in learning more, I would highly suggest visiting the website investinyourselfpod.com. That's where you can listen to the three of my podcasts are on there. I think four of them are there now, but we're going to be getting them their own websites and that. But Invest in Yourself Pod is the primary place you can go to listen to my podcasts, hear about and see the automation and work. If you want to follow me, Instagram is the best, at podcaster Phil Better. I post nearly daily there. Tips, tricks, videos, all this stuff, and I'm always open to have people send me a message to help them out.
Awesome. So Phil, thank you for sharing your ideas and insights with us. Really happy to have you here.
It was my pleasure, Ashraf, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to be a guest on your show.
Awesome. All right. And for the listeners and viewers, I'll catch you another time.